Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel and welcome to another reading vlog where I'm gonna be reading Leviathan Wakes. So Leviathan Wakes is book 1 in the Expanse series, which is a science fiction series, and I have been wanting to read this book for a while. I bought it in November, I think, and I was planning to read it, I think in December, like when I went back home, because it was back in Portugal waiting for me. And then I didn't, because there are always so many books I want to read. But we are finally here now, and I just want to say that this is a spoiler-filled vlog. And having said that, let's just get into it. So usually when I do these dedicated reading vlogs for like one book, not usually, every time, I update when I am like 1/3 into the book and then 2/3 into the book. But I always find it more fun to watch vlogs where people just, stop whenever they have something to say. But I struggle with doing things if I don't have like a set structure. But like I said, I think that's more fun. So we're gonna try that now. And I am only 45 pages in, and I have 7 tabs. And honestly, I would have more if that wasn't already a ridiculous amount, because I did highlight more things. And we are following 2 main characters, and one of them is a detective, and he's called Miller. Oh, speaking of, like the other book I'm currently reading, which has nothing to do with this, it's like a horror book. But one of the main characters, he's also a detective, and he's called Mills. And this one's called Miller, so I just know that I'm gonna confuse them at some point. And then we're following Holden, who he's not a captain of a spaceship. What is he? Executive officer. He's the executive officer of a spaceship. And before we get to that, we had a prologue in which we were following a girl. And literally the first sentence of this book was: the scopuli had been taken 8 days ago, and Julie Mao was finally ready to be shot. So that's a way to start a book. And she is stuck in the scopuli, which has been invaded. She's not in the scopuli, she's in another ship. But the scopuli, which was the ship she was in, was invaded. That was an empty water bottle. They always do that sound and it always scares me. But anyway, they were invaded and they took them somewhere else. And the rest of the people of her crew, I suppose, were tortured and killed. And she was just, not making sound, because I think he said if you make a sound, I'm gonna shoot you or something like that. So she was just, she was there for 8 days. And then she got out of her hiding spot, whatever, and she found out that they weren't there anymore, and there was no sign of the scopuli, and she had no idea what was going on. And then the last page of the prologue, I was just what? Because she was exploring, trying to figure out what the hell had happened. I'm gonna read the end. It said, slowly Julie floated toward it, one hand still on the ladder. The strange smell became overpowering. The mud caked around the reactor had structure to it like nothing she'd seen before. Tubes ran through it like veins or airways. Parts of it pulsed. Not mud then. Flesh. An outcropping of the thing shifted toward her. Compared to the whole, it seemed no larger than a toe, a little finger. It was Captain Darren's head. Help me, it said. I was just what? I literally just closed the book and looked at it for a while, just what the hell is going on? And so then we are following Holden and Miller, and we get a chapter from each. And Holden and his crew receive a signal coming from another spaceship somewhere, and part of the crew, including him, go toward it, because it's kind of part of the law to... Oh, also, I didn't explain that humanity has colonized the whole solar system, so there are humans everywhere in all the planets. And so it's kind of the law to help anyone who seems to be needing help. So they go out to help, and when they get there, they realize that it's the Scopuli, the spaceship that they find. There's no one there, and things are kind of like not working, but not because they failed, and because they were just purposely turned off, and so they're very confused. And then they see that whatever was emitting the signal was not the actual like ship's beacon, it was something else. And then at the end of the last chapter with Holden, they're like wondering why someone else would like turn on whatever that was to send the signal. And then Holden said, maybe there's something different about this transmitter, like if it had a second signal trigger to go and someone found it. And then they receive a message from the captain, who did not go with them, like he remained in their main spaceship. And he said that they may have a problem, and that is the last chapter I read with Holden. And then with Miller, he, like I said, he's a detective, and he gets assigned a job in which he has to find Julie, who is the girl from the prologue, because she has gone missing and her parents want her found. And so he's supposed to go get her and like pretty much kidnap her. Like even if she doesn't want to come with him, he's supposed to get her. And I mean, we know that clearly she's in trouble, but they don't. And so there's that. And then he is out with his partner. And that was literally the last thing I read. He also receives a message saying that they have a situation. And apparently they're receiving like some signal, like a message, a video, whatever, from the direction of Saturn. And then like they start playing it. And literally like the last line I read was, "My name," the man said, "is James Holden." So like, what is going on? I am confused. I am intrigued. I am really liking it so far. I did not intend for this update to take this long, because literally only 45 pages. Also, I will probably read the first novella in this video. And I mean, I know there's like a chronological order, but for that there are 3 novellas that are supposed to be read before this. But I only realized that after I already started. So I'm just gonna read them in like the order they were published, I guess. So there is a novella between this one and the second one. And yeah, that is it. I will be back when I have something else to say. Okay, so last night I read just 100 pages, and honestly, I read 100 pages because I was really liking it, because otherwise I would have not made it because I was super tired. But I am on page 142, and also like not just, but like I showered a while ago and my hair is in that in-between stage where it's not wet or dry, and I hate that, but also like I want to get back to reading, so I want to update now. But anyway, in the next chapter I read after my first update, we got the answers for why Holden was like doing that broadcast and like what had happened to lead him there. And basically like he and part of his crew were like exploring the ship, what is it called? Scopuli. This Scopuli. And then I think I said that he received a message from his captain saying that they might have a situation. And basically their main ship, like where the captain and the rest of the crew were, was attacked, and it was like bombed and exploded, and like everyone there died. And then Holden and the rest of the people that were with him got back to that ship, and they saw something that was from Mars. Let me see. Yeah, he said that, like, he started the broadcast and he said that their ship was destroyed by a warship with stealth technology and what appeared to be parts stamped with Martian Navy serial numbers. So that happened, and I don't think I mentioned before, but there is a lot of tension among the people from the different planets, and also what they call the Belters, who are the people of the like asteroid belt, and they are like built differently. I think they're like really tall and thin, because it has to do like with gravity. I mean, lack of it, just, you know, their environment made them different. They don't look like the humans from Earth or Mars, because apparently Earthers and Martians look similar, I think. Anyway, there is a lot of tension, and, you know, Aster Holden, who I think is from Earth, pretty sure, revealed that his ship had been destroyed by Martians. You know, the tensions are rising, and there is like a war starting, basically. Also, Holden is contacted by some people, and one of them is Fred Johnson, who was an officer of the UN military. And when Holden is like explaining to the rest of the crew who that guy is, he says, until Anderson Station. And I am pretty sure that like the novella I'm gonna read after this is called The Butcher of Anderson Station. So I'm sure we're gonna learn about that story. And like now I am definitely more excited to read the novella because very intrigued. And he's contacted by that guy and also someone else. And he is going, like, his crew are gonna be rescued, like taken by some other people. And while all of that is happening there, Miller and like the rest of the police are trying to keep the peace because, like I said, everyone is very tense. There are fights starting, just a whole mess. And Miller also talks to someone from the OPA, which is the Outer Planets Alliance, because Julie, the girl he's looking for, was supposedly part of that group. And he talks to a guy there who basically tells him to stop looking for Julie because they need to be the ones to find her first. And I mean, Miller wants to know like what he knows, but he says that like he will find out and give him information. And I mean, he doesn't accept to just drop it, but he tells his partner that the OPA is scared of whatever like Julie was involved with. And his partner's like, what the hell scares the OPA? Because like the OPA are the ones who are kind of scary. And then I think the last thing I have to talk about is that like the other ship where Holden and his crew are now was also attacked, and like one of the members of his crew, who was the doctor, died. So, you know, things are not looking well for them. And so like they were trying to, you know, survive. And the last paragraph I read was, they were halfway to the ship and Holden was starting to think they might make it when a line of smoke crossed the room and intersected with Kelly, and the lieutenant disappeared in a flash of light. So yeah, that is where we're at. I am still really enjoying it, and I like that there is like sort of a mystery mixed with sci-fi. And I mean, I do have to say that I think Holden's chapters are way more interesting than Miller's. At least like every time I get to one of Holden's chapters, I'm like, okay, I need to know what happens. I'm way more invested. I am just, you know, having a better time with it. Not to say that I don't like Miller or his chapters, but they are not as intriguing, compelling to me. But having said that, I do like it. And also, I do like that the chapters are all short. I mean, they're around like 10 pages each. Because like in the fantasy books I read, there are chapters that are like 30 pages long, which kind of makes me want to die a little. So I love the short chapters. I am thriving with them and I am loving it. And like I said, I am gonna get back to reading. I'm on page 237 and Holden and Miller just met and I am so excited. Okay, so I am on page 292, which means I am just over 50% into the book, and I am still really liking it. And starting off with Miller, he tells his boss, I think, that he would like to talk to Holden because he's looking for Julie and he knows that Julie was in the scopuli. and the scopuli was used to lure Holton and his team so that like his main ship could be blown up. So he knows that there is some connection there, so he wants to see Holden, but his boss is not really agreeing with that. And also Miller is like actually taken off the case of finding Julie because he is like asking a lot of questions, and he's just making the tensions among like Earthers and Martians and Belters worse. So he's taken off the case, but he doesn't really actually get off the case, like he doesn't stop investigating. So he is fired. And at the same time, like after he's fired, he's talking to his old partner, and they're talking about how Earth just doesn't want to be involved with any of the conflict, so they're just stepping away from the belt and Mars and just everything. And his partner says, I've heard Earth is doing everything it can to stay out of the war, including giving up any station that is expecting to be a point of contention. You know how it is. You've got a pit bull on one side of you and a Rottweiler on the other. First thing you do is drop your steak. And I sent a photo of that to my friend, and she was like, no, first thing I do is toss the steak. So they run in one way and I run the other. And I just want to say that she is absolutely right. But anyway, the point is, after Miller is fired, that is kind of, the push he needs to just go on his own to find Holden and Julie. And he heard from a OPA guy that they have Holden. So he kind of knows where to look, and he thinks that Holden is going to one of the asteroids of the belt. And now moving on to what is happening to Holden. I think in like my last update, I said that the ship they were on was being attacked, and he and three members of his team managed to escape, and they are Naomi, Amos, and Alex. So they managed to escape, and they are like in a new spaceship now, but they can't really land anywhere because it's a Martian warship. So with all the tensions rising, they don't think anyone is going to just let a Martian warship like land on their planet. But then he is contacted again by that guy who was the butcher of Anderson Station, and he is part of the OPA. So he lets them land on their place. And that is how Miller knows that the OPA has Holden, because, like I said, that guy is part of the OPA. And that guy basically wants to make sure the war doesn't happen, and he wants there to be a trial for like what happened with the Martians, if they were actually the ones who attacked their ship. He wants just a trial. And he wants Holden and his team to, talk at the trial because they were the witnesses of what happened to the rest of their crew. And I get that, but also, even if there is a trial, I'm sure, like, whatever the outcome of the trial is, some people will not be happy with that, and, there might be a war anyway. But moving on from that, they get actually... the guy wants to take their ship because he wants to go to one of the asteroids in the belt because, let me find the actual things he said. Basically, there is like a fake person that they have created who's called Lionel Polensky. And he is, again, he's not a real person, but he's like the fictional owner of the Scopuli. And he heard that Lionel Polensky is in that asteroid he wants to go to. And so he thinks that, since someone connected to the Scopuli is there, he wants to go there to know what the hell is going on. But Holden is like, okay, I'm not gonna give you my ship, but I will go to the asteroid, like me and my crew. So they go to the asteroid and they are attacked again and they are running, and actually Miller saves them. So that is when they meet. And then they go to the room where Lionel Polensky is supposed to be, and they find Julie dead, and it's just a weird scene. Because it was like, in the shower stall, Juliet Andromeda Mao lay dead. She was nude and barely human. Coils of complex growth spilled from her mouth, ears, and vulva. Her ribs and spine had grown spurs like knives that stretched pale skin, ready to cut themselves free of her. Tubes stretched from her back and throat, crawling up the walls behind her. A deep brown sludge had leaked from her, filling the shower pan almost 3 centimeters high. There's that. And so they get out of there. I mean, Miller contacts like a police friend that is there on the asteroid. And then they get out of there and they're trying to figure out what to do. And then the asteroid gets bombed and the police / some people who are actually not the police start like gathering people, putting them in places that they say will protect them from the radiation. And Miller and Holden are finding the whole thing very strange. And so they go like see what the hell is going on, because I mean, they're pretty sure that like whatever was happening. Oh, because before that we see them hacking like into Julie's files, and she was basically like telling the process of how she got sick. So they're pretty sure that like there is a bioweapon somewhere. And Holden and Miller go like see what the hell is going on, and the rest of the crew stay behind. And Holden tells them that like if they don't come back in a certain amount of time, for them to just go. And so Miller and Holden, like they get to those places where the people are supposed to be protected from the radiation, but like once they enter, everyone is knocked out. And then their like radiation sensors start spiking up, and basically the radiation is inside and everyone's knocked out because there is like a gas to knock people out. And then Holden's saying they nuke the station. Maybe they just pretend to nuke the station. Then they drag everyone down here and toss them into radiation shelters that are only radioactive on the inside. Gas to keep them quiet. Then Miller's saying that there has to be a better way, like an easier way to kill people. And Holden's saying that, yeah, I mean, there has to be more to it than just killing people. And he says, the bug, right? The one that killed that girl, it fed on radiation. And Miller says, incubators. So, like, those chambers with radiation are incubating the biohazard, bioweapon thing. So that is not fun. And then they are, like, trying to get out of there and going back to the ship. And the rest of Holden's crew is gone. And yeah, that is pretty much where I'm at. So things are not looking great, but the book is great. And just one thing that I find weird, I mean, it's not gonna happen anymore, I'm assuming, because Julie's dead. But before Miller found her, he kept like having conversations with a fictional Julie in his head. And I was like, that is really weird, bro. But like, while he was investigating, he kept imagining that Julie was there and what she would say to him. Also, on the other hand, something that I really like, and I mean, now I don't know, because like, did Holden's crew actually leave, or did something happen to them? You know, but what I want to say is that I really like their relationships, like the 4 members of the crew, their friendship, their banter, really, really love that. And yeah, I am having a great time reading this book. I am very nervous, very invested. After I finish filming this clip, I am gonna get back to reading because I am loving it. And I don't really know when I will update again, but I'm sure I will before the end, because I mean, I'm halfway through. Hi, so I am on page 461, which means I have exactly 100 pages to go. But before I get into what happened in these last however many pages, because honestly, I have no idea what page I was on in my last update, I just want to say things that I forgot to mention in that update. So the first thing, and it's something that doesn't really add anything to the story, is that there was like something in Portuguese, like the name of something, and I thought that was funny because like I did not see that coming, but also it was written wrong. And unless the idea was to write that wrong, like it was written wrong. But anyway, another thing that I forgot to mention, and does actually matter, is that I said that Holden and Miller were like infected with radiation, and I just left it at that. But they have, I mean, Holden has medicine in his spaceship, so it's not like they're gonna, inevitably die. Like, they can get to the medicine and survive. They just need to get there, and they were actually stuck in the asteroid, so they could not get there, Anyway, let's talk about what happened since I last updated. The people who were being like incubated with that biohazard bioweapon thing, they like come out of where they were being incubated, and they are kind of like zombies, and they're like falling apart, and they're trying to get to the rest of the people, and that includes obviously Holden and Miller. And I mean, they manage to get out, and they do make it to the ship. So like, the Holden's crew did not abandon them. They saved them, they treated them like with the medicine, but they are still, obviously not doing great, because once you're affected by radiation, even like in the future where you can like easily be treated, you're obviously not going to be fine in a split second. So they're not doing great. And especially the asteroid, like, they made it out, but the asteroid is like dead. There is no way of saving those people. There is no way of saving the asteroid itself. And they find some clues that make them think that Earth is actually like the planet that is behind what is happening. But then I think it's Miller who says that, at first they thought it was Mars because they found the Mars things. Then they thought it was the OPA, but it was not the OPA. And now they think it's Earth, but like, could it be someone trying to blame Earth? So they're not sure what exactly is happening. And then they find out what happened in the like Julie's ship, because I think they see the footage, I'm pretty sure. And they find out what happened. They basically see what Julie saw in the prologue, and they are debating whether they should tell people or not, because like, on the one hand, they should know. On the other hand, it would create chaos. But like, at the same time, even if it's creating chaos, it's only gonna be giving people like an excuse to do what they want to do. So like, to go to war and kill each other. So they're not entirely sure what to do with the information that they now have. And so basically, like, the biohazard, I am probably not gonna be able to eloquently explain it, but I'm just going to use the book to help me out. So basically, there was a proto-molecule that was found in Phoebe, which is asteroid / moon / something. So it turns out that it was sent by some alien civilization 2 billion years ago to destroy Earth, but Saturn got in the way, and so it never made it to Earth. And yeah, they found it, and basically it can genetically change whoever it infects. And basically, yeah, it says here, the earliest cellular life on Earth would have been hijacked, reprogrammed along lines contained within the structure of the proto-molecule. And it's the first technology of genuinely extraterrestrial origin, but also a prefabricated mechanism for the manipulation of living systems, and the first clues as to the nature of the larger biosphere. And so basically, the company that has the proto-molecule has decided to just release it on that asteroid and see, what happens when you just use it on such a large scale of people. And then they are contacted by Fred, like the guy, the butcher of Anderson Station, and they go to him, and I think I said that he's in the OPA, like one of the leaders, and they found a location, I think in Julie's notes, if not in Julie's notes somewhere, they found a location, and they think that's where like the people that are doing this whole thing with the proto-molecule are. And so they head there, and honestly, like, there was a intense fight like inside the spaceship, like Holden's spaceship, with other ships that were like from those people fighting them, trying to stop them from get there. It was stressful. I was worried. People got hurt. It was a lot. But basically, they get there, and Miller and Fred are the first people to talk to Dresden, who's like the guy in charge of the proto-molecule people, and he tries to bribe them to just forget that they ever found him and just let him do his research in peace. And then he like explains what his goal is and like why he decided to do it on that asteroid. And once again, gonna use the book to help me out here. So he's saying that there is a civilization out there that built a proto-molecule and hurled it at us over 2 billion years ago. They were already gods at that point. What have they become since then, with another 2 billion years in advance? So basically, he wants to use the proto-molecule to, like, he wants to understand how it works so he can modify it. And he can, like, humans can undergo evolution. Instead of like 2 billion years, it can just happen fast by the proto-molecule changing the human's DNA. And he's saying that it can give them everything, like belters who can work outside the ship without wearing a suit, humans capable of sleeping for hundreds of years at a time, flying colony ships to the stars, no longer being bound to the millions of years of evolution inside one atmosphere of pressure at 1G, slaves to oxygen and water. We decide where we want to be, and we reprogram ourselves to be that. That's what the proto-molecule gives us. What we are doing is the best and only hope of humanity's survival. When we go out there, we'll be facing gods. And Fred's like, what if we don't want to go out there to face the gods? Which was what I was thinking. And then that guy's like, they already fired the doomsday weapon at us once. And I'm like, yes, that was 2 billion years ago. And they did nothing about it in 2 billion years. Like, why would they do that now? You know, if you want to like attack someone, if you want to kill someone, you don't like attack once, see that your attack failed, wait 2 billion fucking years and attack again. Anyway, that happens and they're like having that discussion. That guy is still trying to bribe them. And then Miller, like out of nowhere, he does not say a word. He just shoots the guy, like he kills him. Which, you know, questionable. As much as I wanted him to die, maybe that was not the way or the time to do it. So that was questionable, and everyone else thought the same. They stayed there for a while longer because Holden's ship needed to be fixed, so they're fixing his ship. And Miller actually like needed a job, so he went to Fred to work for the OPA. And he's actually gonna be working for the OPA. And then he and Fred started talking about what to do with that asteroid that is full of the people infected with the proto-molecule. And they were, you know, talking about it, and that they decided that they're going to send it to the sun. Yeah, because if they are sure that everyone will want to get the proto-molecule, and Earth is actually like, they have already sent ships or whatever to get some of it. So at first they're gonna like booby trap it, and then like with the explosions and Holden's ship and more things, they're going to propel it towards the sun so it gets destroyed. And that is where we're at. And yeah, some insane things have gone down. I am still really, really enjoying this. And I am still absolutely loving Holden and his crew. Their friendship is everything. And I mean, there's a romance starting now, but it's so not like relevant to the plot that I'm just, yeah, I don't mind it at all. I'm pretending it's not even a thing. And yeah, also one thing that I said in my last update, that like Miller talked to Julie in his head, but now that he knows that she's dead, he'll stop. But he didn't, which makes it even more strange. So there's that, but very entertaining, very weird, very crazy, very good. Loving it. And since I only have 100 pages to go, I will probably only be back when I finish it. Okay, so I have finished Leviathan Wakes, and I think I said in my last update that they were going to basically send that asteroid with the infected people to the sun. So that was gonna happen, and they needed to prepare everything, and Miller actually went to the asteroid. And he actually was intending to be there when the asteroid was destroyed. And so, like, he was there, and no one knew that he had just stayed behind. And he was there, and he saw the spaceship, I guess, that was gonna come and hit the asteroid and, like, shoot it towards the sun. And then, like, it did not hit the asteroid. And he was like, what the hell? And it didn't hit the asteroid because the asteroid dodged the spaceship. Which he was like, what? And I was like, what? And so, yeah, the asteroid dodged the spaceship, and then it started like moving faster and faster. And they were sure that it was moving towards Earth. And I mean, they went through a couple of plans to try to destroy it, but they all went wrong, so I'm not gonna get into them. But basically, like I said, Miller was still in the asteroid, and he realized something because he could hear voices, and he realized that the people who were infected weren't exactly dead. At least Julie was not exactly dead. And so he contacted Holden and the rest of his crew. And I mean, he started off by asking if his like health data was okay, or if he was being like, if he was under the influence of something that could make him like hallucinate. And I thought, dude, you have been talking to a dead girl and seeing a dead girl who's clearly apparently not dead, but like she was never actually with him, so he was just hallucinating her anyway. So I was like, do you really need to be under the influence of anything? But yeah, the point is he was not, and that was to like make them believe what he was saying and that he was just not crazy. He basically told them that she is not exactly dead, even if her body is dead, like her mind is not, and the proto-molecules kind of got her memories, and so she is the one driving the asteroid towards Earth because she wants to go home. And so he wants to find Julie and convince her to stop going towards Earth. And I mean, I was just thinking, why would she listen to someone that she doesn't even know? Because, like, in his mind, they know each other super well. He's always saying, like, Julie in his mind is always saying that she loves him, and he's always saying that he loves her. But, like, real Julie doesn't even know him. So I'm just like, why would she just listen to you? But anyway, that is besides the point. He wants Holden to basically buy him some time because Earth has sent missiles to destroy the asteroid. And so he doesn't want that to happen. So he wants Holden and the crew to give him some time to find Julie, convince Julie to go somewhere else. And he's like, where else would I ask her to send the asteroid? And Holden tells him to say to go to Venus because it's a horrible place or something like that, but like as a joke. And like, honestly, it was really nice to see Holden and Miller working together again after their fight when Miller killed the other guy. So it was really actually nice to see them not only work together, but like joking together again. And that was really nice actually. And so Miller manages to find Julie, and he manages to convince her to change trajectory, and he does send her to Venus. So he took it as a serious plan, which, I mean, it works out anyway. But then they were saying, and with they, I mean Holden and the crew, they had managed to save Earth, Mars, and the Belt. But this, like the proto-molecule thing, was obviously part of a bigger plan. So, you know, like, what happens now? And also, like, it didn't die when it hit Venus. Like, there is something still alive in there. And there is definitely still a lot of tension among the planets. And Fred and the OPA are trying to make new deals, make new accords, trying to settle things. But obviously things are not just solved like that. So there is still a lot of tension. And yeah, that was the end. And I really, really loved it. And before we go into my final thoughts, I just want to talk about the novella that I did read. And so it was very, very short. And actually, I was pleasantly surprised because I was wondering how much can you really pack in less than 30 pages? And apparently a lot, because we learned what happened when Earth sent Fred and others to destroy the, well, not destroy, they didn't destroy the station, to destroy the people that had, like the rebels from the belt that had overtaken the station. I mean, we get like a dual timeline because Fred was being questioned by someone from the OPA, like in the present, and then we were getting the story of what happened during the attack to the station. And basically, like the Belters had invaded the station and taken over the station because they just did not have, you know, decent living conditions. They were like practically slaves, and they had even been given worse conditions. So they were kind of, you know, rioting. But they had sent out a message saying that they were surrendering. But Earth still sent Fred and his team anyway to go kill them. So, you know, Earth is so great, you know? And Fred did not know about that message. He only found out when he saw, like, once people were dead and he was in the station and he saw that the video was there of the guy in charge, I guess, saying that they were surrendering. So yeah, he felt obviously very bad, and I felt very bad. And honestly, like the amount of emotions that this little tiny novella created in me, I was shocked, and I really, really liked it. And I gave it 4 stars. But now let's go into my final thoughts for this book. So starting off with the characters, obviously, like I said many times, I absolutely love Holden. And I love, like I also said, his crew and their interactions, their friendship, their banter. It's so, so fun. Like, I have some yellow tabs, and the yellow is for things that make me happy. And every single one of them, except for I think the last one, which is when basically things went right in the end, like every single other yellow tab is just wholesome moments among the crew. So I love them so much, which is a good thing because I think they are the characters we are going to be following throughout the series. So I am definitely very happy with that. And Miller, I never liked him as much as Holden, but like in the end, while he was, you know, ready to die in the asteroid, I was actually, you know, sad. So I guess I did connect to him more than I thought. And I mean, I never disliked him. I just didn't love him as much as I loved Holden and the crew. And I mean, after the novella, I really like Fred as well. So yeah, great characters all around. And the plot, it was so good and like crazy in the best way possible. And it definitely had me stressed out because it was really intense, and I was excited and invested from the beginning to the end. And also there was like great humor as well, again in Holden's crew, but also like with Holden and Miller and Fred, like everyone was funny, sometimes in a very dark way, but for me personally, I loved the humor, like everything. And also the pacing was great because I mean, it was fast enough that I was never ever bored. I was always, like I said, excited to know what was happening. And yeah, I had a great time with this book. I thought it was a great start to the series, so I am very excited to continue reading it and love this book, and I am giving it 4.5 stars. And so yeah, that is everything for this reading vlog. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, give it a like and subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!